On the next day, me and Htwe visit Ma Tanegi, a Myanmar freelance writer who wrote an outstanding book about the puppet tradition. In her book, titled The Illusion of Life, she gives the kind reader lots of information about the history and actual state of this tradition. After showing us the basic moves with her princess puppet, she explains some interesting facts about the puppets in an interview.
One thing about puppetry is that in the old days, human dancers learned choreography by watching puppets. They have to be able to dance like puppets. And so you could say that the puppets are their real dancing teachers. And also, they, instead of them being really an illusion, in the old days, they entered reality. Because in the king's court, the king would have his own puppet troupe, the queen would have hers, the crown prince separately. And when people want to, ordinary people or from among the royal family or the nobles, they want to give a message to the king or somebody else in the royal family about something that maybe is bad news. And if they do it in person, they're not going to, they're in trouble. So they ask the troop leaders of these puppet troops to put in the message in the place that they are performing for the king or for the queen or for the crown prince. And the message gets passed because the reality of marionettes is that they are not dolls, but they are humans, although made of wood, and they are telling the king whatever he needs to know. So it's not the real human behind it who was telling the king, it's the puppets. So the king can't, punish the puppets. So these messages get passed. So that way they played a very important role in our history. And also, all puppet troops for the common people, they travel all over the country and they carry news, political news, but more popular, the gossips of the palace. Which princess is having an affair with which prince, things like that. And they tell it to the country people. And this is great enjoyment. And also puppeteers have to know about traditions and for people, how to behave in a really, decent manner. And these they put into the place so that the village people also learn from from watching puppet plays how they should behave, that lying is bad, things like that. Well, it's always one thing about globalization and progress, that the younger people want new things, and there are so many let's say exciting creations in performing arts, like in the movies, animation, and video games. And these are more, let's say, because they're new and they're exciting, they are more attractive, of course, than any old traditional arts. It happens in the country. But what we need here would be for the puppet stage and also the classical theater to have better stage settings and better sound systems, better theaters, but these will take a lot of money. And before they can, and it would be very difficult to get funding for these. And it's also for them, it's not sure that if they put in a lot of money, that there would be enough interest in the traditional arts, you see. Because for traditional arts, people are, either they are interested or they're not. And as I said, also there's a competition of the modern performing arts, and also like TV, MTV, that young people enjoy, rather than seeing the traditional puppets. These all combine to make it very difficult for traditional arts to prosper, not even prosper, just to have a stable niche in our present day culture. For my book, I was researching, of course, back in 1985, and at that time, I would say now it's slightly better because the country has opened up more to tourism, and because of that interest, there are maybe not complete shows, like in the old days, lasting the whole night, but there are some short performances for dinner shows. Anything is better than nothing.
Later on, all three of us visit an old puppeteer in Sorba Jigon village, a little outside of Yangon. Here, just in the middle of nowhere, an unconsiderable bamboo hut hosts one of the most outstanding puppet collections one can ever face in Myanmar. What looks rather typical on the inside, showing the family altar, which is found in every house, holds a special surprise for us visitors. Lots of people gathered together, knowing that a stranger is coming far away from Germany just to take a glimpse at the puppet collection. And I'm feeling a little bit embarrassed by all the efforts that are made to present this collection to me. Poles are built up in order to hang up the puppets, and there's more than hundreds of them, each more beautiful than the other. In a mountain of bodies and clothes lies the treasure of years of collecting and puppet making, and it demands the help of all family members and friends to sort them out, put them in order, and help them come back to life. Facing the diverse variety of all these puppets, I am not only overwhelmed by their beauty, but also by the multitude of the different characters. Ranging from animals over demons to various other characters, I am getting more and more aware of the fact that I didn't even see the tip of the iceberg. In a huge mosaic of colors lies the treasure of an 800 years old tradition, and I am getting the feeling that this collection is the most complete all over Myanmar. And later on, I will see that there is even more to discover. Some of the puppets, like this elephant, are very heavy and need at least 2 people just to hang them up. And I can hardly imagine the strength of the arms which is needed to manipulate them and make them come to life. A throne is built up for the performances of the king puppet. And like all puppets, every item of the additional equipment was made by hand, and again, the rich ornamentations and details of every item and puppet are simply overwhelming. There's no industry capable of producing such beauty, neither earning my respect for the hours and days which must have been spent to produce such a detailed treasure. All these puppets and equipments belong to Oo Chan, a famous old puppeteer who stopped performing a few years ago. He agreed on showing us the puppets, and despite his decreasing health, is not too weak to show us some of his puppets in a little performance. Among known characters like the dancers, he also owns some special puppets. For example, a puppet created for horror shows, which is able to get its body torn to pieces. Chan is proud of his collection. And while I am facing his performance of the fight of the ogress, I can feel his happiness to show his skills, which make the puppets come back to life after years. In his collection we find many puppets belonging to the ancient legends, like the bird-faced Garuda, who is fighting and afterwards riding the mythical Naga snake. there are lots of animals, like his colorful troupe of dancing monkeys. Or a heavy water buffalo turning his head. Little picking birds. An eye-rolling owl. And of course the tiger and elephant who belong to each proper puppet collection. These two are mythical enemies who are always fighting, and in ancient times people have been afraid to put both puppets in the same place or box because they were believed to start a fight immediately, even if nobody touches the strings. Another aspect that shows me how much the Myanmar people believe that these wooden figures are more than just puppets, but creatures that are alive. After showing me so many puppets, Sayat-chan agreed on an interview. In this interview he tells me that he started manipulating the puppets when he was 15 years old, and after collecting puppets for many years and studying the performances with several old teachers, he built up his own ensemble. He was a famous artist, and his ensemble was asked to perform at many temple festivals, but unfortunately, due to political and social reasons, he had to stop his performances a few years ago. The main problem is that keeping up all these puppets in order, educating his staff and paying the crew turned out to be too expensive, and performances got more and more seldom. So, resuming his career as a director and artist was becoming too expensive, and he had to stop his ambitions and started working as a doctor in his village. Speaking about his hopes for the future, he points out that he hopes that somebody else will find a way to increase the public interest for puppet shows again, and that he is afraid that soon this hundreds of years old tradition will be forgotten. In the last few years, most of his puppets wasted their time in boxes, sleeping for years and not seeing the daylight. So he was very happy to use this opportunity and share his passion with us. Knowing that a stranger far away from Germany shows interest in his collection gives him hope for the future. And so we left him with a smile of hope on his face.